All right, folks. We are on the home track here, just about done with the semester. And so it's important that we come together and look at the last steps that will be required because your senior capstone is one of these university designated, critical junctures for graduation. And so I wanted to look at where we are and the deadlines that are currently coming up, and make sure that everybody's on track with the requirements to pass the class and to get your diploma. So keep in mind that 491 is a writing intensive class, and because it's a capstone class, and so university requires that capstone classes are writing intensive, meaning that there's a certain threshold of writing that needs to be done. What we've done with 490 and 491 is we've front-loaded 490 with a lot of research and writing so that the students that are on the project track can do their project and then incorporate the writing, some of the writing that they've done in 490, and re-edit that and kind of update it for the capstone in 491. And so there is a paper requirement for the research track as well as the project track. And so research track is going to have a paper requirement of at least 15 pages, and that research paper will not include the proposal, but is a freestanding research project that is a product of the students' discussion with their mentors and focused on their professional aspirations. As the entire class, everything we do in 490 and 491 is intended to sort of best position or bridge the gap between your academic identity and your emerging identity as a young professional in our field. So the project track paper is not as long. It's a 10-page requirement, and students on the project track are invited to kind of go back to their proposal, which is usually 7 to 9 of those pages, and to sort of update the language to reflect not what they did do or what they are going to do, as it says in 490, but to kind of shift that perspective around and talk about what they have done in the project itself, and then to add another sort of section to it. And so the updates could include, actually, let me get that over there. Right, so it's the 490 proposal on the project track would be the plus updates. So the proposal looking back, right, retrospective about what we did do as opposed to what we're going to do, and then updating it with various types of information. Most commonly production notes would be that additional segment to look at the specific decisions that were made from an artistic point of view in order to produce the kind of quality that students are going for. But there could also be for students whose project were not as technical, for example, there could be the inclusion of a business plan, for example, or a marketing plan, or a discussion on lessons learned from the project and what you might do differently. There could be a discussion or an analysis. I've had students that have taken 4 or 5 job advertisements that they would like to, apply for, and to look at how the project positions them relative to those. And so there's a lot of, and that would be the last little section of 2 to 3 pages to get from, say you've got 7 pages of proposal, you update that and sort of edit it, and then you add on this extra reflective component, and that's going to satisfy, or maybe your production notes or whatever it is, that's going to satisfy the writing intensive part for 491 for the project students who, are encouraged to use this strategy because most of their time and effort for 491 has been actually doing the pre-production, production, and editing and post-production, and all of that workflow that is required from the project-based students. And so this is designed to be an equitable model so that both students can deliver the writing requirement, as well as a work that is focused on getting them positioned relative to the opportunities in their field as they have defined them and understand them to be. Now, when it comes to group projects, for the project track, it's not uncommon. We're encouraging students to do group projects. The question that I get a lot is, well, do we have to, if we're doing one project and we have this writing intensive, this paper requirement, wouldn't it just be the same for everyone in the group? And the answer is yes and no, meaning that there are sections of the paper that would be shared, like the project overview or the description, the calendar that has all the deadlines, that's required at the end of 490. That should be, of course, updated to reflect your actual experience. But then there will be parts that are unique as well, and those would include, what is the specific contribution that you as a team member made to the project itself? What sort of outcomes do you hope to have relative to your career aspirations? What is it that brought you into this project? What were you expecting? Those are all going to be unique. And so that is sort of a detailed question that I wanted to respond to there, because it's neither nor. It's not that, yes, everyone has to submit their own paper, but there will be large sections of that paper that would be shared. And that's what I wanted to identify, so that, project overview, description, and the calendar in particular. And then, other parts that would be unique that have to be specified on a per student basis. So that's to kind of get everybody up to speed on, the paper, the /writing requirement, and how it affects, the research paper students, of course, are doing a longer, more focused paper, a research paper in any case. And so they're already satisfying everything that the writing requirement would entail. However, it's the project track students, especially the group projects, that have a more nuanced and sort of, strategic approach to satisfying the writing requirement in a way that allows them to also produce a high quality, multimedia audiovisual project, whether it's film, documentary, recording project of some kind. And so that brings us to the last question of, well, where are we now in terms of, excuse me, my body just got very humongous. Where are we now when it comes down to our deadlines? Okay, let me put this back here. Okay, so we do have, the final and remaining deadlines that we have should be understood in terms of the paper deadlines as well as the project deadlines. And so the paper deadlines are the first and last. And so to make sure that people are on track with actually doing a draft or doing the paper at all, at the end of March, I send out a call for everybody to submit a draft of what their final paper is going to look like. And so that was, last week. And that allows me to get, and I did have some students that had questions about that and asked for extensions to that deadline, but that allows me to see the progress, to verify people are on track, and to also give feedback in terms of how do you then turn that draft, of maybe 3 to 5 pages into the final paper itself, which would be, once again, the 10-page for the project students and the 15-page minimum for the research paper students. And you'll notice that that's 5-5, right? May 5th being the very end of the semester. And so that gives time to kind of start to organize your ideas for how you want to represent the project in terms of writing, to satisfy the writing requirement, and then go ahead and finish the project, do the last presentation of the 3 presentations that are required for the class, and which is the retrospective presentation, and then go through that whole process and sort of be done with it, and then be able to return then before you submit the final paper with all of that experience and enhanced perspective, which does make a big difference, as you'll find out. So the final deadlines are for the paper and the project itself. And so the project presentation is it's a YouTube upload, which is on 4/12, so that's coming up here shortly. And there's a link on Canvas for that, and I can show you that down here. Final project presentation there on April the 12th. So typically what we have is the media itself, whether it's a recording that has like a static image. So if an audio recording may have like some artwork that is fixed while the recording plays, or of course the films and videos, documentaries and things like that are much, that's just sort of, you upload the video and we can play it. And the reason for that deadline there of the 12th seems a little bit early. However, that gives the faculty a chance to review all of it and then make recommendations for which project should be included in the showcase. And so there are students who have reached out to me and said, the editing is taking longer than we expected, which is common, and that's why we say keep this thing to under 10 minutes for the the video and film students. We have had some requests for extensions on that 12th deadline. All that does is and we can grant those, but it does eliminate you from consideration for being in part of the showcase, which are the top faculty just picks a handful of the top projects to represent the best of your class, the 2021 graduates, the MEA graduates. And so that's why that deadline is a little early. And so if you need an extension, just let me know, but recognize that it's going to preclude consideration for the showcase. And the details on the showcase itself will be coming up shortly. We're looking at doing an MEA only type of an event, but we'll get more details on that soon. And then on the 19th, so a week after the 12th, on 4/19, there is presentation 3. So you'll remember that apart from doing the project itself, you also present on it 3 times over the course of the 491 semester. And the last one is intentionally after everything is done, so that you can sit back and reflect on, wow, that was, what was this experience like? How would I have done it differently? Almost always there are no shortage of things to say from students who have gone through 490 and 491 to then sit back and be like, okay, here's what I would like to tell to students that are, coming up into 491 about, lessons learned. And sometimes it's lessons learned the hard way, but it's always a good idea for 491 students to leave this last presentation as a recap and as advice to the 490 students that are coming up. And so you can see that as well over here. 490 presentation 3 is there, the final papers at the very end of the semester. And so those are the last hurdles that remain to be done to get through these classes and to satisfy the Capstone requirement for graduation, which is one of the core requirements for all university students to graduate. Please do let me know if you've got questions, if you need extensions. But this video is intended to help clarify, this very crucial last push here. We've got 3 weeks to the end of the semester, or 2.5 weeks, and then and that's to the last class. And then you've got the exam period, of course, which will bring us to the very end of the semester itself on 5/5. All right, good luck to you guys, and I look forward to hearing you as needed. Take care.